wake up one day and realize the people that have cut the cancer and that have actually adopted Bitcoin, they are now so much better off than you, just because they did some research and they were intellectually honest and curious. And that's all you need. You don't need to be smart. You just need to be curious and honest. If you want my money, you better accept Bitcoin. If we have a big enough group that says that, it will force everyone, every restaurant, every merchant to say, oh yeah, like we accept Bitcoin. If you have the aspiration of buying a home one day, yeah, good luck paying $2,000, $3,000 each month into the mortgage payments. And this for the next 30 years. You are a slave at that point.
Today, I'm joined by Robin. He's the Bitcoiner who interviews someone new every day, from household names to everyday people, helping uncover how Bitcoin shapes life, money, and mindset as well. Robin, before we dive in, would you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure talking with other people about Bitcoin. I'm used to sitting on the other side of the microphone, but I do enjoy it more and more also being the guest on the show. For myself, like I'm a co-founder of Microseed for self-custody. I have my podcast with where I try to have a great, interesting conversation every single day with another human being, where we mostly talk about Bitcoin, but also about other stuff. And so this is all about me. I come from the IT security world. So for me, self-custody is really a focus, having your own sovereignty. And maybe just quickly to my belief, what I really am strongly believing in Bitcoin, and why I'm so excited about Bitcoin is, for me, Bitcoin fulfills the three pillars that you want to have in money. The first pillar is, for me, the aspect of having something that stores value over the long run. So we have this number grab technology that, as we well known, in the last 12 months, Bitcoin is up 100%. In the last 5 years, Bitcoin is up almost 1,000%. And so we have a huge, so like we made a 10x in 5 years, which is tremendously cool. And so if you could just see those numbers going forward, this would be like over $1 million price target just in 2030. And so this is the first pillar that I want from money. This is the first pillar that I am really excited about of having. The second pillar is the freedom aspect. This is the aspect of, like, I can send and receive money and nobody can stop me from that. I can transact with anyone and I can just do that without anyone in between, and nobody can ask, like, hey, why do you do that? They can ask that, but they cannot stop me from that. That's the main thing. And to that, in order to actually having to achieve the full freedom, you have to have self-custody, you have to have your own keys, and you also, and a lot of people actually overlook that a lot, you also have to run your own node. So this is like the first two pillars. And the third pillar is not something that is necessary with money, but I think it's a great added bonus that we have that with Bitcoin. It's the culture, it's the community, it's the mindset, it's the proof of work community that we all have. It's that we come together on podcasts, that we come together on community meetups all across Europe, all across America, all across India, all across Africa, all across Australia. Everywhere there are meetups in most of the big cities, and you can just go there. It's open and people will love you because you are another Bitcoiner. And so this community and this culture thing is extremely undervalued. And in my opinion, this is a three main pillars of Bitcoin. And this is why I'm so excited about it. And that's why I think Bitcoin is a fork in the road of human civilization.
Such an amazing summary there for everyone that's potentially new to Bitcoin. And I think you touched on it in your first point. From my experience anyway, speaking to people about Bitcoin, they always either have their interests or have their guard up because it's about money and number go up technology. And they see it as this tool to increase their wealth. Now, we both know that this is a feature of Bitcoin, but what you just touched on there in terms of the freedom that it brings as well, alongside that community. It'd be great if you could touch a bit more on your experience with the freedom side of things, but also the people involved, because for those that have just seen the news that it's drug money or that it's what dodgy people use, as opposed to what it actually is, if you could go into more detail of your own experience in those two aspects, that would be awesome.
The freedom aspect, and I really want to stress that point, because I think it's something that a lot of people aren't aware of, that this is the most important one. And I mentioned the three main aspects of like the number go up, the wealth aspect, the freedom, and the community aspect. And the second pillar is in the middle, and this is in the middle because it's the foundation to both to the both other ones. If you could only focus on one, this is the most important one, and all the other things depend on that one. If we don't have a secure, decentralized Bitcoin, there's also not a secure, decentralized Bitcoin asset that will go up over time. A lot of people don't recognize that, but there is Bitcoin the asset, and there's Bitcoin the network. And without the network, the asset won't work. We need the network for in order for the asset to work. So the network, it being decentralized, it being secure, is the most important part in Bitcoin, and you can play a role in that in order so that you take self-custody and for you to actually run your own node. Why is that important? Because there is the possibility that we have Bitcoin, the number goes up and it's all great, but we create a bank coin and not Bitcoin. And what do I mean by bank coin? Bank coin is basically, oh yeah, we have Bitcoin, but nobody stores it in their own wallets. Nobody runs their own nodes. Nobody verifies. If we get to a future where everyone is kind of just having a Bitcoin on a third party, like an ETF, an exchange or whatever, and relying for someone else to hold the keys, this could turn out to be something tremendously bad for Bitcoin, because then we more have bank coin and not Bitcoin. And that's why running your own node is so important, because we have to have a voice into what is Bitcoin. So you have to run the implementation that you are believing in, and you can say, oh, I want to run this implementation. This is the real Bitcoin. We saw it 2017, and I don't reading Bitcoin books is extremely good. But there's one Bitcoin book. It's called The Block Size Wars. You can even Google it and you can read it for free online. I think on Bitmax or something like that it's called. And you can read it online for free. And you can really get a grasp of like why Bitcoin is so decentralized and secure, and why 2017, the Block Size Wars, is such a tremendously important piece of history for Bitcoin. So when you summarize it all together, the freedom aspect I'm stressing so much because this is the foundation to everything else. The people involved are also, this is also the foundation to we also need the security and decentralization to have the people, because we are mostly carried by people that are extremely passionate about Bitcoin and very loud. The more you come into Bitcoin, the more you realize that there aren't that many people actually. If you go to a conference and you go to multiple conferences, you will recognize that, oh, there's like the same few people showing up at every conference, and there are the same few people that speak at the conferences. It's a very small community, but a very loud community at the same time. And this is because we are extremely passionate, and we are only passionate. The passion is only fueled by us having that deep conviction into Bitcoin. And where's this deep conviction coming from? It's because nobody can F with my Bitcoin. Nobody can tell me that the cap is all of a sudden 25 million or 42 million. No, the max cap is 21 million. And that's it. And so if we have those caps in there, if we have all those implementations in there, and we know what Bitcoin is, and we protect Bitcoin so it doesn't get to be bank coin, then we have extremely passionate people that are like, hey, I'm here for that. I'm here for a decentralized and secure monetary network with an asset that I can store my wealth in and I can transact in. This is why Bitcoin is valuable. The price, the first pillar, the wealth aspect, this is just a consequence, a symptom of it, which is great. Like, I love seeing my number go up, but this is not why Bitcoin is valuable. Bitcoin is valuable because of the other things.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you talk about bank coin versus Bitcoin as well, because ultimately Bitcoin is for everyone. So it's inevitable that the banks are going to get hold of it, but the power for the individual to hold the asset Bitcoin themselves isn't to be messed with. So for those that are hearing this stuff for the first time, you're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything. Robin, if you could maybe take us back to when you first discovered Bitcoin and when you first realized that something about the world or the money just didn't add up and you were looking for a different solution, what that looked like for you and your story from there.
It's really interesting because we have so many, we are sometimes so deep in the weeds of Bitcoin, and we are like, we're talking about such high level stuff sometimes, and so deep into that high level stuff that we forget that people still have questions about the very simple nature of Bitcoin. If you go out in the world and you ask 100 people, what is the current Bitcoin price? You will get ridiculous answers like, I think it's like 40 cents or maybe like €5. So they obviously have no clue about Bitcoin. If you ask the people like, what do you think is the max cap of Bitcoin? They're like, wait, Bitcoin is capped. You cannot make more of it. Like they don't even know about that. And if you go a little bit further and ask people, what is the difficulty adjustment of a Bitcoin miner? They have no clue. Like nobody, like 0 people out of 100 will be able to answer this question for you. This is how freaking early we are. So that's why I love this question so much, because we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to what is actually the pressing points. What is the beginner tutorial for Bitcoin? And when I go back to how I got into Bitcoin, it was the era where Microseed just came to the scene. This was literally, I came in the same month as Microseed into Bitcoin, because he kind of orange pilled me. When he was on the first few podcasts, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense what he's saying. And orange pilling people and getting people involved in Bitcoin is a highly individual journey. It's not something that I can give you like the 5 points and you just tell this everyone and everyone will be educated. Someone in his 60s or 50s that already knows the value of gold needs a whole different pitch to someone that knows exactly how Bitcoin is decentralized and secure but has no clue about money. I see this all the time. There is like someone, an older uncle of mine, that I say, hey, this Bitcoin thing, and he's like, yeah, I get the gold aspect of it and I love gold. I own gold, but like this can never work. It's digital. Like someone else controls it. For them, they have to know the technical aspect of like how it actually is not controlled by anyone, but by everyone. And so someone else that might say, a software developer maybe says like, oh yeah, like Bitcoin is great. Like it's a great technology, but it can never work because it's like slow and it does not have enough features and all of that. For them, they need a lesson in Austrian economics. They need a lesson in like how money actually works, but they have no clue about economics. So to come back of like, where does it start for people? It's a very individual journey, and everyone needs to go on their own journey. And no matter how old you are, no matter what wealth you have, Bitcoin is the best solution for your money. And the sooner you realize that, the more you will benefit from that. And if you start by asking the right questions of like, okay, what is actually Bitcoin? Why should I need Bitcoin? And then maybe ask the question of like, what is money? You slowly get down the rabbit hole of like, okay, I slowly understand it. So I urge everyone that is kind of new to this game, be open-minded and just ask good questions. And you can ask the questions in podcasts, and in the podcast format, you can figure it out. You can ask those questions in ChatGPT and Google and wherever you want to ask them those questions. But ask those questions and be curious and be a critical thinker. And that's how we actually get the mass adoption. And I don't think, and because mass adoption, I don't think we will get to a point where everyone will get Bitcoin. We'll probably get to a point where critical mass will understand Bitcoin. And this critical mass is under 10%. It might be 3%. It might be 8%. This critical mass doesn't need to be huge. It's just a small subset of the world that is intolerant about the money. If 5% of the people say, let's make a controversial take with vegetarian food in Bitcoin. If let's say 6% of the world say, I will not eat meat and I won't eat any animal products, then this forces every restaurant to have at least the option of having a vegetarian dish, having a vegan dish, and all of the rest of it. Because there is a big enough subset of people that say, I only eat plant-based. And when we then look at the same example of Bitcoin, if there's a big enough group in the world that is 5%, 6%, 7%, 10% of the world that says, I will only accept Bitcoin as payments and I will only pay people in Bitcoin. If you want my money, you better accept Bitcoin. If we have a big enough group that says that, it will force everyone, every restaurant, every merchant to say, oh yeah, like we accept Bitcoin, because they will miss out on too much of the revenue. If let's say a small store has around 1,000 customers per month walking through his stores. If 1,000 customers walk through the stores and 10% of them ask for payment in Bitcoin, that's 100 people that ask for payment in Bitcoin. And if those 100 people go in there, ask for like, hey, can I buy that here? And they say, yes. Can I pay with Bitcoin here? And they say no. And they're like, I'm sorry, I will find someone else to buy it from, and walk out. If 10% of customers you lose because you do not accept Bitcoin, you will accept Bitcoin. It's not that hard. It's like, why wouldn't you do that? And so we just need a small subset of group of people that actually are intolerant about it and are actually very bullish on Bitcoin, that they are pushing Bitcoin, and the rest of that will follow automatically. So our mission is not to orange pill 8 billion people. Our mission should be to orange pill 500 million people. This is a big enough subset of people that will push Bitcoin to the world. And I mean, I haven't really answered your question about my history of like how I got into Bitcoin, but it was pretty similar to a lot of people. I was trying to figure out the mistake in Bitcoin, and I was trying to figure out what is wrong with Bitcoin, because I thought it's a scam. And I tried to figure out why Bitcoin is a scam, and I discovered that Bitcoin actually isn't a scam. I bought Bitcoin, bought a ledger, bought a Coinbase, all of that, the rest of it, and even I don't recommend those products anymore. And then I went into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and more I got to be a Bitcoiner.
Lots to unpack there, but the two things that stood out for me, one is when we do get to a point where those businesses start having to adapt and accept Bitcoin, there'll also be a ripple effect, in my opinion, because they'll realize how much better receiving Bitcoin is in terms of less fees, instant settlements, a handful of things that just are so much better than accepting your Visas or MasterCards as we have today. And then relating back to the very start when you were talking about people not even knowing what the price is right now. 3 months ago, I was talking to them about Bitcoin, and the first thing they said was, Bitcoin's still around? I didn't even know it was around. And then a few days later sent me a message saying, be careful with that Bitcoin. Like, money's just better. Money's better. And the irony is that person's a uni student. They struggle with their finances, and they thought Bitcoin wasn't even still around, yet still try and tell you stay away. So we have lots to do work-wise there. But then on the flip side, just today, I had someone message me. I put up a post yesterday, I think, talking about inflation, money printing, and how people's money or currency is just losing value. And he said, I was listening to you and it just hit me that they can print money to infinity, but Bitcoin is capped at 21 million. So what does that mean in terms of an investment? So he had that light bulb moment, but that's just one. And that's the goal, to keep them going. But to your point, we're so early, which is exciting. But that's why the goal with this podcast now is to help specifically Gen Z, our generation, to understand the problem first, because as amazing as Bitcoin is, I think people just disregard it if they don't know they have a problem to fix. So that leads me on, I guess, to before you found Bitcoin, what path were you on? What did life look like when you were just following the normal script? And how has it changed since then?
It's very hard for me to answer this question because I'm so young. Because I got into Bitcoin with 21 years old. So a lot of things change in general in life when you are so early in life. So up until 15 years old, I think, I was just a young kid. I don't know what I should say about that. Like, I just grew up on a farm, grew up on, in a house in a very rural area, next to a farm actually, and was there a lot. Then slowly, like, life began and school began. I went in a bigger city, and then, like, things set up, and I think I got my first job around like 17, 18 years old. Got into investing because I got extra cash flow with 18 years old. So I got into like stocks, I got into ETFs and all of that crap, because this is actually the kind of story how I got into Bitcoin. People actually ask me a lot, like, oh, you do stocks, like, why don't you do also Bitcoin? And I'm like, because it's a scam. That's kind of alluding to the story earlier. And my life before Bitcoin was very different. And I'm very careful with contributing everything to Bitcoin, because a lot of the contribution is also just by growing up. A lot of the contribution is also to my girlfriend. A lot of the contribution is to important mentors that I had along the way, like my father, my granddad, my first boss that I had for 6 years, and so many more people that I could name, like very good friends of mine that are always on my side. Like, so many people that were always on my side, and changed my life so much for the better. I always say I won a lot of good lotteries already in life. I won with my parents. They are amazing people. They gave me everything I needed, but not more, if you know what I mean. I won the lottery with school. I won the lottery with amazing coaches, from swim coaches up until like coaches in the career world. So I think I'm just super blessed with life, and life has given me with what life can really give me. And so I'm careful with saying, oh yeah, I got Bitcoin and my life changed for the better. It's absolutely true, but it's also true that I was very young and a lot of factors led me to have a better life. But what I can say, Bitcoin really changed for me is that I got a good savings vehicle that empowered me to have money. And before Bitcoin, I was a stock investor, and funny enough, I always used my profits. When I invested in a stock and I made some profits, I ran off and bought a fucking Tesla. So with Bitcoin, this is different. And I don't know why, but I really want to keep my Bitcoin. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin at all. And I don't want to use my Bitcoin for anything. I just want to have them and save more and work harder so I can make more cash flow so I can just stack more Bitcoin. So this is something that definitely changed. But everything else, like from life generally, I would contribute that more to the people, to the friends, to my partner, to my girlfriend, like business partners, to career advisors, to mentors, to my father, to my mom, to my granddad, was also very important for me. And they really shaped my life for the better. It was also Bitcoin, but it was mostly them. I do love the watches from Coin Vigilante, but today I have a very special message, not from me, but from the CEO himself, Carlos from Coin Vigilante. Let's hear him.
To all the Robin Seyr podcast community, I'm Carlos Estrada from Coin Vigilante, and we're sponsors of the show, and we're going to give you a very special discount exclusive to you. 10% off your order at coinvigilante.com when you use Robin at checkout. We have really nice watches that you guys can buy right now for 10%. This is a transparency edition, beautiful watch. These watches are worn in over 55 countries and counting. This discount is just for you, exclusive to the Robin Seyr podcast. We have limited editions. We have limited productions. These watches come in very nice packaging, boxing material, and they are collector's item for Bitcoiners only. Enjoy the discount. Thanks for supporting the show and Coin Vigilante.
I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. You get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use simplemining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together.
You can hear the gratitude you just speaking there. And I had a conversation just the other day about the importance of mentors. And for me, the realization of whatever you want, and it doesn't have to be financial here, but whatever area of life that you want to improve, find a mentor that has what you want, that lives the life that you want in that area, and do exactly what they say. And it's reaffirming to hear you talking about mentors in that light, where Bitcoin has complemented it, but surrounding yourself with people who have what you want is also really important to getting to where you want. So I want to bring it right back to exposing the problem with money. So in your eyes, what is wrong with today's financial system? Why do our generation typically feel stuck and feel like they're on this treadmill?
If you listen to Gen Z, people that want to buy a home, like I might want to do one day, when you listen to people that are between 18 years and 25 years old, maybe 30 years old, they really want to buy a home. And I acknowledge that most of the people listening here are probably older, as most of the Bitcoin conversations are. But especially for the younger generations, for if you're now 45, for your kids, if you are 65, maybe for your grandkids, and if you're like under 30 yourself, you don't have the possibility to buy a home. We got screwed. We got screwed over by a bad monetary network, a monetary network that takes from the savers and gives to the asset owners. And this is especially hard for people that come new into the world because they are not asset owners. They are, by definition, new to the system. And when you're new to the system, you don't have assets and you have to work way harder than those who already have assets. And this is deeply, deeply unfair. In a world where you don't have assets and another one has assets, it's already you already have to work harder, but it's okay because the one that has the asset also has had to work for it. But if you have a world where the ones that has the asset gets contributions from the one that doesn't have the assets, then the scale is no longer right. This destroys the signal. This is the noise that comes into our signal. So this is the main thing that is drastically broken with our system currently, that we are benefiting when you have the assets and we are disadvantaged if we don't have assets. And now for the Gen Z. Gen Z has a huge opportunity. An opportunity that our dads, like the people maybe around 40 to 60, didn't have. The opportunity that our granddads, like the people from 60 to 100 years old, didn't have. We have Bitcoin, and we can use Bitcoin to accelerate in the asset world. Bitcoin is the one asset that is the best to own if you're Gen Z. If you're Gen Z, there's no other asset you can or should own. If you have the aspiration of buying a home one day, yeah, good luck paying $120, $150, $200,000 on down payment and then putting another $2,000, $3,000 each month into the mortgage payments. And this for the next 30 years. You are a slave at that point. And so rather take that money and put it into Bitcoin. And in 30 years, you can buy 50 houses with that money and not just have one. So I truly believe that the Generation C, the young generation right now, is extremely in a good situation, actually, because of Bitcoin. Because of Bitcoin, it gives them a chance to be the one asset owners that the boomers, the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, like whatever generation you want to pick at, have. Even millennials have it way better than Gen Z. We always talk about like how how important Bitcoin is for millennials, but it's twice as important for Gen Z because they don't really have anything. If you're a millennial, you're maybe 35, 37, maybe you have a home. At 37, you had the chance, a way better chance of owning a home than if you're now 25 years old, 21 years old. And so Bitcoin is our chance of making something way bigger with our money than any other thing, because there are the conservative choices like stocks, like ETFs, like the real estate things, but those won't give us enough. They barely catch up with inflation. And then there are the gamblings. You can go in a casino. You can go in the crypto world. You can pick some random tech stock. But those is also not good because most of the time you lose all your money. And so Bitcoin is the perfect middle ground where you don't have any inherent risks with it and you get a huge upside over the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so that's why I think Bitcoin is the best possible shot that Gen Z has in generating generational wealth.
Completely agree with you. And I think Gen Z, once they understand and realize the situation they're in, we are in such an amazing situation. And another thing, I think a lot of our generation, because it was painted to us growing up that save for a deposit and buy your house is the way forward. And that's what we're taught by older generations. For those of our generation that are on that path and they're saving for a deposit, hopefully they'll already feel, not hopefully, but they'll already feel the slowness that brings if you're just saving in a bank account. But that's another reason why they're in such an amazing opportunity, because those that are saving for a house but start understanding money, the problem, Bitcoin, they've got this money saved up, ready to pour into Bitcoin, to then, like you said, have 50 houses in the later in their life rather than being tied to one. It's a super interesting way to look at things. And for those that perhaps are listening to this but still not fully getting it, from your perspective, what problems are actually showing up in their lives that they might be able to relate to, feeling, to maybe encourage them to look into Bitcoin a bit more as a solution?
If you're early in life, you have, and this could go very deep, and this, especially for young people, you have the thing that when you are, if you're 15 years old and 16 years old, your biggest problem is like girls. And I can only talk for guys now, because I haven't grown up as a girl. And this is kind of the biggest thing. You're like, oh, like maybe some school problems, maybe your dad makes stress of like some marks, but your actual biggest problem is like, oh shit, like girls. And this probably stays your biggest problems till like 18 years old. And then at some point is like, oh, okay, I figured that a little bit out with girls. I figured that out a little bit with school. But oh gosh, I have to slowly start making money because I don't want to ask my parents for everything. I don't want to ask my parents for everything I want to buy. I want to be a little bit more independent. And maybe for someone that starts with 16 or 15 years old already, maybe it starts later with 20, 21 years old. For me, it started around like 17, 18 years old. And then you take the first internship. Maybe you ask your dad, do you have some contact? Can I work somewhere? And then maybe you discover that your dad cannot hook you up with a job somewhere. And then you have to go ahead and actually find a job yourself. And it's not easy. Like, you don't have any experience, you don't have any skills, and you don't have anything that you can really bring to the table. Especially as a young boy, the only thing you can bring to the table is time and motivation. With 20 years old, you can work 15, 16 hours a day and you're fine. So the best thing you can do is find a small company that is a little bit outside of the startup phase, that is maybe already like 2, 3, 4 years old. but it's still not big. A company that has an exciting business, but is around like maybe 10 to 30 employees. And the smaller, the better. But pick a company that is already working. So that is already having some profits. Like, don't pick a wannabe unicorn where the venture capital just throws in money. Pick a company that's small, organic, and is growing nicely. But it's still small, where you know the CEO, where you know the CFO, where you can work with them in one room. I think around like 8 to 25 people, maybe 8 to 21 people is perfect. You learn a lot about business. You learn about customer relationship management. You learn about sales. You learn about developing the product, servicing the product. You learn about bookkeeping. You learn about all the things. And the one advice I have for everyone that wants to go into this thing is learn as much as humanly possible in there and say yes to everything. If the CEO comes to you and says, hey, can you do that? Say yes. Be the one guy that says yes to all the opportunities. Between 20 and 30, it's the time to say yes to opportunities. If someone gives you something, say yes. Because at some point, if you say yes enough, you will come to the situation where you say yes so much that you are completely booked out and you like have a lot to do. And then the process starts of saying no. My process of having to say no to people started last year. Before I was saying yes to everything. Now I have to be more picky. I have to say no to people. I have to say like, I can't go out with you. I can't do that. I can't start that business because I have a thing going that's actually way bigger already. I can't help you with that because my time is more valuable than that. And there's like hard conversations you have around that, and let's tackle that later. But before, you have to say yes to a lot of things. And this is just coming from someone that is now 27, in my situation. And I can only give the advice that like how I got to where I am right now. And maybe people don't want to be where I'm right now. So like, this is fair. I just can only give, the blueprint to what I've achieved and what I've learned from that. And so if you're in the situation, learn a lot, and you already want to start something on the side. So this main business that pays you the bills and does the things, shouldn't be your only thing. You should have something on the side that you're really passionate about. And if it's only 10 hours a week, it's fine. It doesn't have to be big, but build something, sell something, develop something, a service, a product, a channel, a YouTube thing, a TikTok thing, whatever it is. Like there's like no limit. And now with ChatGPT, with AI, all the services and all the things that are out there, it's never been easier to do something great. I'm co-founder now of Microseed. We build our own website. We are manufacturing that ourselves more and more. So there's still like the table and the jig and stuff like that is it's outsourced, but we're actually looking in how we can manufacture that the whole thing ourselves, made in the USA. And these are things that are super easy nowadays. Of course, it takes time. You have to research, you have to fail, you have to figure it out. It's not that easy, but it's possible. It's never been easier. And so with digital products, with digital things, it's even easier. All the things are already there. You just take it and do it. And then there is one more thing. I truly think that there are a lot of lazy people in our generation. I have no clue if this was always the case, if it got more or less. Like, I don't care. I don't care about the generational wars of like, oh yeah, Gen Z is so lazy coming from a boomer because he was so great. I don't know. Like, I've not been growing up in the boomer times. I've not been growing up in the whatever generation. I've only grown up in the Gen Z generation. And I have to say, most of my school colleagues, most of my friends, most of my people in my age group that I've met between 15 years old and now 27 years old are extremely freaking lazy and don't take any responsibility for their actions. And this is the biggest chance that you have if you want to be the one in your environment that is not lazy, wants to provide for other people, and actually wants to take responsibility. And I say that, with a lot of respect to my generation, but most people don't have big enough goals. If I ask people what they want in life, or like what do you strive for? Like what do you want to earn? What do you want to earn per year? And someone tells me like, oh, I want to earn 100,000 a year. And I'm saying that is very selfish. That is very selfish of you, because 100,000 might feed you, but it might not feed your sick parents, your kids one day. If you have 5 kids, might not feed your partner. It might not feed other people. And so thinking big, being someone that thinks in bigger magnitudes of saying, hey, maybe I don't want to have $100,000. Maybe I should earn $1 million a year, because I want to not only provide for me, I want to provide for my partner. I want to provide for my 3 kids. I want to provide because if you ask yourself, if you say to me, I want to earn $60,000 a year, and those numbers are very different depending on where you live. In the US, it's different to Europe. In Europe, it's different to India. So, please don't hate on me if it's way too much or way too less in wherever you watch that. But if you say average salary, let's say $50,000, and you say, I want to earn that, and then I'm fine. You're basically saying, I only want to provide as much value to society that I get enough. And then I ask you, would the number be bigger if you have 3 kids? And you would say, yes, of course, I need more money for my kids. Would the number be bigger if you have to treat your sick parents? Yes, I want to treat my sick parents, then I need more than the 50K than just for myself. Would the number be bigger if one of your best friends is in financial need and you really want to help him out? Yes, you need a bigger number. So thinking bigger, demanding more money is actually the most selfless thing you can do. It's something where you can step up in your family, in your friend circle, and say, I want to be the provider. And I'm not there yet at all. Like, I earn nothing compared to the thing that I want to earn. Like, nothing. And so when you come to the point of saying, what can Gen Z probably learn the most and get the most out of it is being humble, learn a lot, stack a lot of experiences, stack a lot of skills, but most importantly, think as big as humanly possible. Stack yourself a goal. I have a funny story. With 18 years old, when I started investing, I recorded a video of myself of what I want to achieve when I'm 30 years old. I reached that goal 2 years later. And I thought it was a very high goal, but it wasn't a high goal because my mind was not prepared to what's possible if you actually go ahead and work a little bit. It's such a, I might release that video one day, but it's very like I talk like I have the biggest goal, and it's like such a underperforming thing. It's like most people like it's not even far away from the average of the world. And I'm coming from Austria. So I don't see people taking responsibility. I don't see people having big goals, and I don't see people actually doing the hard work. And this is the biggest thing that Gen Z can profit from. And I told that actually with Joey just yesterday on his podcast, where we talked about what message do you have for Gen Z, and I said, for Gen Z, Bitcoin is extremely important and you should put all your access cash in there. But one thing is even more important: investing in yourself, in your skills, and in your adventures. And I don't mean with like go with your friends to like some holiday where you can drink a lot of alcohol. Like that's not what I mean with adventures. Adventures are like find another friend that wants to found the next big company with you and shoot for the stars. Like just do that, and you probably fail. you probably end up with a not working product, with some losses in there, and it's fine. I've started 2-3 small startups before I started my podcast, and they all failed, and they all costed me money. And this is fine. This is where you learn. And yeah, this is I guess this is my main message to Gen Z. It was longer than I expected, but be a responsible human being and think about your goals bigger than yourself, because at some point, hopefully, you will be providing for a family.
Absolutely love those points, and just to summarize again, because I think it's really important to touch on. One is writing down those goals and actually thinking deeply about what you want, and then thinking even bigger. From my own experience, writing things down brings it into the real world, and you're much more likely to hit those goals because they're out to the universe. I think that's a massive one. And just listening to you speak there again highlights the importance of being around people that challenge you to think bigger and to think differently, whether that's breaking through limiting beliefs around money that a lot of our generation have ingrained into them from family and friends, even though it comes from a good place. And then breaking through limiting beliefs about yourself. I believe a lot of our generation don't dream big or don't want to think big because of the limiting beliefs that they've put on themselves. So getting in the energy orbit of like-minded people that can push you further than you back yourself is a really, really important part to what Robin was just touching on there. And without being doom and gloom, I just would really appreciate if you could just paint the picture for those that do keep following the script of plodding along in their job, saving for a deposit and looking towards getting a mortgage, where that road will likely lead them, as opposed to if they start implementing these points that you've touched on just then, and then also exploring the Bitcoin world as well.
I have a lot of empathy with those people. And I'm deeply grateful that I actually got to know about Bitcoin. And it's not something like you can be extremely smart and still never hear about Bitcoin from the right person. So you actually do the research, because we have a lot of noise in our world, and there's a lot of things that we should look into, that we should do, and we never do. I tell you a story. From my own medical thing. I was not at the skin doctor for about 7 years, and I have a lot of those like moles on my body, like a lot of them, and I never wanted to check them. Like I was like, I'm fit, like I'm fine. And finally, I decided to like check them out. And I went to the skin doctor, and she looks at them like, oh God, like with that face that you don't want to see at the doctor. It's like, okay, okay, and I was like, oh, what's up? Like what's wrong? And she checked everything like for like 10 minutes, like 15 minutes, like very long. Like it was like everyone, because I had on my whole body, I have them, and especially one here and here, she looked at very long. And she went back and forth, like looked and looked and looked and looked. And then she was like, okay, perfect. Let's sit down. Let's talk. I got clothed again and sat down with her. And she said, I cannot say for sure, but there is a good chance that you have some sort of, I don't know, like, she said basically there's a good chance that you have skin cancer and that you have something wrong with your body. And I was like, why did I not let that checked like 7 years ago? Maybe I could have done something different. Maybe I could have got the skin cancer out already. But she said, like, there's also a chance that they're completely normal, but they don't look good. And I was like, okay, it's okay. So I made an appointment for surgery. So they can cut the mole out and they can look at it in the lab and see if it is something good or bad. Or like if it's something normal or something malicious. And this was around like 3 weeks between her saying there's a possibility of skin cancer and my surgery, and then another week for the lab results. And in this month, in this 4 weeks where I just did not know, like it was on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, I'm fit. Like I don't feel anything. And if I have real skin cancer, like in a late stage, I would have itch. I have like blood things, like this would be a whole nother thing. So I knew even if I have something, it's not that bad. But at the same time, I really like did not want to even have it in the first stage. I did not want to have skin cancer. And the only thing I could have thought about the whole time in this whole month is like, why did I never let that check? Like, why did I not go just to the doctor for like 10 minutes and let it checked like 7 years ago? 7 years and never got it checked. 7 years and never looked into something very routine to do, especially if you're young, like once a year, once every 2 years, you should get your moles checked. Maybe there's something bad developing. Maybe you have skin cancer. And luckily, I don't have skin cancer. It's just a normal mole. And I only have to get it checked like once a year now. And it got to be completely normal. But I can tell you what, just the possibility, just if you sit in the doctor's office and you hear you might have cancer, it gets so real for you. Like it never got so real for me that like cancer and then like sickness is a thing. And I say that to people also with Bitcoin, not that you get cancer when you have fiat money, but you always hear about Bitcoin. You always hear like, this Bitcoin thing is here. Like we could also do something. It's an alternative money. Like, oh, it's volatile, but like it seems to be cool. People don't check it out. People are in those 7 years like, yeah, I heard about it. It goes up and down, but yeah, like this friend of mine said I should check it out, but I've never done that. And in the same sense as with my moles, that I knew for 7 years, like I'm not stupid. I knew that there could be something bad with those moles, and I've never let it checked out because it's fine. Like I'm breathing now. Like what should be wrong? I don't need a doctor. I'm very, like, I don't want to go to the hospital at all. I don't want to get it checked. Like I don't want to do those things. But sometimes it's good. I know, there's a lot of things wrong with the health system, a lot of things wrong with hospitals. But they do provide some good service. And so the same people that are now saying, no, like I don't need Bitcoin, like I'm fine with my real money, they will wake up one day and they will realize that they have adopted a cancerous money that slowly brings their wealth to a death and slowly eats away. There are viruses in the body that eat away the muscles. The autoimmune sicknesses that eat away on you, on the muscles, even if you train out. So you have to train out a lot more to fight against those sicknesses, against these illnesses. And in a similar way is cancer. And this is basically what fiat money represents. And if you don't get clean and cut off fiat and go on a Bitcoin standard, it might not be good for you. It might be really bad for you. And I say might because you can still be successful. Like Jeff Bezos got successful on a fiat standard. Elon Musk got successful on a fiat standard. They didn't had assets before. They weren't super rich before. They made it. They made themselves rich. They made themselves great. So it's possible on a fiat standard. You can fight against cancer and win. You can, you can, if fiat is running on mud and Bitcoin is running on a normal street, you can be in mud faster than someone else walking on a solid street. But chances are the guy that walks on a solid street is faster than you running on mud. And so this is my message for all the people that still don't want to look into Bitcoin, still say like, oh, it's not something. You will wake up one day and realize the people that have cut the cancer and that have actually adopted Bitcoin, they're now so much better off than you just because they did some research and they were intellectually honest and curious. And that's all you need. You don't need to be smart. You just need to be curious and honest.
Well, firstly, thank God that it wasn't cancer. That's great news. But what an amazing story and way to tie those two things together. And I completely agree with you that people feel that there's something wrong, but keep putting it off. And just like you mentioned with your story there, I echoed the same message of at least check it out. Give it the time to have a look, because if you do, your eyes should open to a much brighter future rather than, like Robin said, of this fear relating to his story. So that leads me on to, for someone that is waking up or resonating with this message, what's the first or one simple step that they can take this week to start moving towards sovereignty and start moving down the Bitcoin rabbit hole?
Buy Bitcoin. I say that with all humbleness, like buying Bitcoin will force you to look deeper into what is Bitcoin. If you have a beautiful lake in your town and you always wanted to go in there, what's the best way to go in there? Like with the first small toe, like dive in, like see like if it's warm, if it's cold, like what is it on there? Maybe see if there's some rocks. Don't dive in with your head first. And the same way with Bitcoin, just like put your toe in there. If you are a 21-year-old guy that has around $2,000 in the bank account, take $100, put it on an exchange, buy Bitcoin with it, buy a signing device, put those Bitcoin on the signing device in your own wallet. It's not on the signing device, obviously. Buy some metal backup, like a Microseed, and see where you end up. And then from there, research, buy books, listen to podcasts. Like if you listen to this, you have already done the first step. And if you listen to this and you've never bought Bitcoin, you don't own Bitcoin, like what are you doing? You're listening to a Bitcoin podcast and you don't even own a little bit. Yeah, you can own like a $50 of Bitcoin. So like just do that. Like just buy a little bit of a Bitcoin and then you can see where it ends up and you can dive deeper. And maybe you decide to not like it. Maybe you decide, oh, it's not something for me. You can sell it. It's a market. You can just sell the Bitcoin again and get your $50 back. And if Bitcoin is going down 20% in that case, yeah, you maybe lost I don't know, $5, maybe $10. Maybe you lose $15. But honestly, isn't it worth learning the lesson about Bitcoin? Never learn about something if you don't even use it. If you don't use it, why should you even learn about it? So yeah, what's the best way to learn how to drive a car? Like sit in there, test it out, see how you can get the gear in and how to drive this car. Like what's the best way to see if a chair fits you? Sit on it. What's the best way to try if there is a new computer that's good for you? Try it out. Go in the store, like test it out. Like it's the obvious thing to do. The first step of trying something new is actually just trying it out. Don't be a theoretical masters in the university that knows all the things about Bitcoin but has never done a single transaction. Like actually just do the transaction. You will learn more. You will learn more about Bitcoin by buying it, putting it in self-custody, buying a signing device, buying a Microseed, putting the seed phrase on like titanium, and then running your own node, like buy a Start9, or like run their own node on your computer or on a Raspberry Pi and do all those things. You will learn more by that than from any other book. Like just do the Bitcoin things, and you will learn what Bitcoin actually is, and you get to know Bitcoin. Set up a Lightning wallet. Transact from Bitcoin to Lightning, from Lightning to Liquid, from Liquid to Bitcoin. Like, go ahead, have fun, test it out. Like, Bitcoin is a technology revolution. You don't need to just read books and listen to podcasts. Obviously, you learn a lot more and a lot faster from them, but you can also just try it out. So that's what I would say for the people.
There you go. That's great advice and a great way to end it. Buy Bitcoin and dive in and learn as you go. Robin, thank you so much for jumping on to the first episode of this podcast series. And what I'll do is anyone that wants to connect with Robin, follow his stuff. He's got an amazing podcast that he films every day. He's active on X. I'll drop both of his links in the description. And what I'll also do is add the link for the Microseed. I'll crop this out. That's what it's called, isn't it? Microseed?
Yes, Microseed.
Yeah, cool.
It's like a small ham you get, it's a small chick. You can stamp your seed phrase on titanium. It's awesome. But I want to say something, because we at Microseed, we are extremely passionate about sovereignty. Before you buy a Microseed, make sure you run your own node, or you have at least tested your own node, like you at least set it up on your computer once and tested it out. And you have already a signing device and you're already ready to go, and no self-custody. Like the Microseed is the last step that you need for having a great Bitcoin setup. And this is also something, this is one device that you buy and you have it for the rest of your life. You never need to buy anything other than that, because a lot of the other devices, and that's why I'm really passionate about it. Like you buy it once and you can stamp as many seed phrases on as many, on as many washers, like those small little blades, as you want. And those small little blades, you can obviously also buy it from our store, for titanium. But you can also just go to a to a superstore, and they have it. I don't know, like the big stores that have those for like 10 cents, and you can just put it on there. It's super easy, and just do that. Like it's not rocket science, yeah. Before you buy a Microseed, make sure you run a node and you have done your self-custody. And if you have done all that, then it makes sense to back up your seed phrase on titanium.
Yeah, so I'll chuck that in the description below for those that might be already there. And it's also a good reminder for me to get one ordered. My Smart9 node is on the way. It's been part of the plan since we got to Australia to get a node set up. So that will be getting ordered. But I'll put Robin's socials in the description, a link to Microseed in there as well. And Robin, Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you so much for hosting me today. It was a pleasure. And I have a feeling this was an amazing podcast. And it was so great because you asked really thoughtful questions. Thank you so much. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.